Good evening, everybody. We're back for another one, and we have Mr. Ray Flores in the building. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great, Terrence. How are you, man?
I'm doing wonderful, man. Glad to have you in the building. It's an honor,
It's a pleasure to be here.
man. I'm going to go ahead and get right into it, man. Um, in the past year, man, in the heavyweight division, we've had a whole lot of uh, controversy.
Hmm.
We had the second fight between Fury and Wilder, and then we had the whole glove gate and all that, and then we had the all the talk about the Fury Joshua and the ducking of the trilogy fight, and then we had the arbitration. Now
Yeah,
between all of that, we had the um, people saying that that Tyson Fury got power out of nowhere. He
oh,
had a,
well.
he had a career of not being a devastating puncher, but for one night
Mhm.
he was Zeus. He was throwing thunderbolts for one night.
Yeah.
What do you think of that?
I mean, listen, my whole thing is, I've heard I've heard everything. And I wasn't in the back, in the dressing room area, in the locker room area. I wasn't there. I got to the arena for Wilder Fury #2. I called both fights, by the way. The first one was in December of 2018, and then the second one was in February of 2020, last year. So I got there because I had multiple duties that night. So I got there about, our first fight was at 2:30, got there about 1 o'clock. And I immediately went to ringside and was there with the commission. And I didn't go to the backstage area. The only time I went to the backstage area was quickly to use the restroom and grab some food and, some caffeine. So I wasn't privy to anything that took place in the backstage area. So I can only say what I saw, and that's what everybody else saw. I saw a masterful performance from Tyson Fury. Now, I have heard, the statements and the allegations. I wasn't in that ring. I didn't feel the power, and I wasn't under the kind of pressure that Deontay Wilder was there dealing with. So here's what I'm going to say about the entire situation. In my estimation, I have no opinion on it because I wasn't in the ring. I wasn't in the back. I just saw a very good performance out of Tyson Fury, and I saw Deontay Wilder suffer the first professional loss of his career. With that being said, I think that all of us collectively need to move forward because all that is in the past. The third fight is signed, sealed, and delivered, and now they get an opportunity on both sides to prove their dominance over the other. So that's what I'm happy about. It's like, of anything, justice has been served in the sense that a third fight is scheduled to happen in less than 2 months. And I can't wait for it. I think it's wonderful for fight fans here in the United States to have the heavyweight championship of the world defended in Las Vegas, 100% capacity, under the bright lights of the fighting capital of the world in the summertime post-pandemic. You've dealt with it. We've all dealt with the crazy world that we've been living in, especially here in the States with COVID-19. And thankfully, we're really rounding the corner and things are starting to get back, and it's so gratifying. And both guys, Wilder and Fury, seem to be healthy. I'm happy about that. I'm thrilled about that. They both are in training camps right now, both getting themselves ready to go. I think we're going to have a very special night for boxing. And what I hope we can do is I hope we can move forward and put the negativity behind us. People that are criticizing Wilder, people that are talking about, the comments that have been made over the past 17 months. Let's move forward. It's about what is in front of us. And we have a third fight in front of us. And for me, I want to dissect that because this third fight has the most depth that the entire trilogy has had. So that's what I'm pumped about.
I agree with you. About this third fight as important as it is because this third fight is where the rubber's going to meet the road, because there's going to be a lot of pressure on Fury, because Fury has to duplicate that performance. If he doesn't bring that same power to the ring, there's going to be a come to Jesus. There's going to be a come to Jesus moment in his third fight.
Yeah,
he has to duplicate that, or the truth is going to be on the table.
I mean, listen. I mean, they've said this many times in prize fighting. You can do as much as you can or talk the talk, whatever. But at the end of the day, you got to walk the walk. And Tyson Fury walked the walk in that second fight and did what he had to do. He's been very boisterous, and he's been very much. He's extremely confident, and he's been saying a lot. And I get it. You know, when you're the heavyweight champion of the world and you feel that sense of confidence over another human being, I understand that. I empathize with what he says, because he backed it up in the second fight. Now, though, he's going to have to make that walk on July 24th, and he's going to deal with, in my estimation, I've been around Deontay Wilder a long time, the most dangerous, lethal, and focused Deontay Wilder that we've ever seen. That's why the winner of this fight, I think, is going to come out so much better, because both men are going to be at their apex. We always hear it in this sport, Terrence. We want to see the best fighting the best. These are two of the best heavyweights in the world, and they're both in their physical primes, and they both are coming into this fight totally healthy, because they've given their bodies an opportunity to rest. It's going to be 17 months on July 24th, 17 plus months from the time that they last stepped in the ring, which was February 22nd, 2020. So both men are going to be totally healthy, in shape, ready to go, focused. Let the bell ring, and let's see who the best man is on July 24th.
I don't want to make you feel like I'm putting you on trial or anything.
Yeah, no worries.
You said you've personally been around Wilder. And you've been, you've watched professional fighters, train, and you've been in their element, this and that. Me personally, I've just seen it on TV. I haven't done that. So I'm asking honest questions.
Yeah.
I've been armchair in the screen watching. But I'll go back and watch. I've probably watched every Deontay Wilder fight at least 3 times.
Yeah.
With this particular fight, the second fight,
yeah,
I noticed that he had no balance. He was just falling and fumbling around the ring. Even Fury said that wasn't Wilder he fought.
Yeah.
Okay, now we're going into the trilogy fight.
Yeah.
Not only is Wilder focused, but he's angry.
That's dangerous.
and we saw what focused and angry was against with the second fight was Tavern, with somebody he genuinely didn't like.
Yeah.
Now he's coming off a loss, focused and angry.
Yeah.
And feeling cheated.
That could be problematic for Tyson Fury. That could be very problematic for Tyson Fury. But the key word is could. Now, will he be able to do that against Tyson Fury? My whole deal is this: is I feel like instead of elevating the sport, we have tried to take away from it, especially in this particular fight. And the reason being is this: Tyson Fury put on a masterful performance in that second fight. But I think people unfairly criticized Wilder directly after the fight, saying, oh, well, Deontay's really limited and he's not as good as we thought he was, and let's look at his resume. Wait a minute. He was the heavyweight champion of the world for 5 years, and he beat the mandatories that the WBC, the World Boxing Council, put in front of him. So he beat his mandatories, was the heavyweight champion of the world for 5 years, passed every test in front of him, with the exception of Tyson Fury. And yet we want to go ahead and treat him and throw, dirt on his grave like he's nothing, and then dismiss him completely after the fact. There have been fighters, if we had the mentality of once you lose your O, that you are not as significant as you were in the past, we would have never gotten, in recent memory, mind you, we would have never gotten Jamel Herring, who's also a veteran just like you, a proud Marine, who won the world title. He had 2 losses before he won the world title. You would have never had Julian J. Rock Williams. You would have never had back in the day the Arturo Gattis of the world, the Marco Antonio Barreras, the Manny Pacquiaos, the Eric Moraleses. So we need to stop this notion that if you lose a fight, then you aren't as good as you were heading into that fight, or that you're written off. That upsets me. That pisses me off. It angers me. So instead of taking away from what we saw on February 22nd as to say, hey, Deontay came up short, it wasn't his night, so be it. Fury put on a heck of a performance. 3rd fight's in the works. Let's see what happens there. Instead, all of this craziness came out from all sides, and I'm sick of it. You know what I mean? Like, I just can't wait to get to the week of July 24th in Las Vegas, to where finally both men will have the truth in their 2 fists, and they'll be able to settle the score once and for all.
You know what it reminds me of, though? Every time I think of that, every time I think of exactly what you just said, it puts me. I think about Jack Johnson.
Yeah.
When you think, because I said this all last year, he's being Jack Johnson's. Because you think about it, had he won that fight, he would have broken Ali's record for title defenses.
Yeah.
And they didn't want that for Wilder. They wanted that for somebody they was hyping up like Fury.
Yeah. They
didn't want that for Wilder. There's still that myth of the great white hype that they're trying to get. And I hate to take it there, but I gotta tell the truth. That's what it's about. They didn't want that for Wilder because they the whole time they called him Windmill Wilder. It was the name.
Yeah, well, that's a powerful windmill because he, when he lands, he's put every man that stepped inside the ring with him down at least once.
Or out.
Fury was down twice in that first fight. So every opponent that Wilder has fought, he's been able to put down. He didn't do it in the second fight against Fury, but he has done it to everybody. So in my estimation, and I've said this before, Deontay Wilder is one of the most lethal punchers that I think we've seen in boxing history because of his concussive knockout power and that laser right hand. And for me, we need to appreciate the power. And people say, oh, well, Deontay Wilder doesn't have, good technical boxing skill. Really? Well, let's go back to 2008 when he won the bronze medal for the United States in the Olympics. If he
fought for what 2 he just picked the gloves up.
Hey, literally, he turned pro, or he didn't turn pro, but he started boxing at the age of 21, and he won the bronze medal for the United States. And people are like, "Oh, look at his pro career." Well, if you're knocking out people left and right and have a knockout percentage of over 90% in the heavyweight division, you're doing something right. And the whole thing is this: let's say that, for both guys, that there's certain fighters who stylistically seem to get the best out of you. They're the perfect foil. For Barrera, it was Morales. Those guys were meant for each other. For Evander Holyfield, Riddick Bowe, they were meant for each other. And the same way I look at Wilder Fury, their personalities, their styles in the ring, they're meant for each other.
Pacquiao
Marquez. They had 4 fights. Vasquez Marquez, the little guys. There's certain guys where your game is elevated that much more. And I love it. I think it is great for boxing. I think it's wonderful for the sport. And that's why, Terrence, I'm on this kind of crusade to say, okay, I understand all the different, points from all different camps, from the Wilder camp, from the Fury camp, from the camp in the middle. But now let's dissect this third fight in the ring, because they are two of the most polarizing personalities in boxing today. And I think that they both bring out the best in each other, because they know that they have a man who wants to tear their head off and can do it. So that's why I think this third fight is going to be very special.
Yeah, I think. Well, I saw in the training video that they got Wilder throwing body punches. Now I don't want to say that he wasn't doing that before.
Yeah.
But if they're focusing on Wilder generating that same power upstairs and putting it downstairs as well as upstairs, Fury doesn't stand a chance because he's soft down the middle.
Yeah, I mean, look, it could be problematic, but again, when you're having success with, landing that right hand to the temple and just decapitating people, it's easy to say, you know what, all I need, and this is the truth, but Deontay Wilder, all he needs to be perfect for is 2 to 3 seconds, and then good night. Other opponents have to be perfect throughout the entirety of the fight. So that's where Wilder, I understand why he's like, all I need is this right hand. Just let me land it on the side of his head. Game over. Because I know my power is destructive. But now, with Malik Scott, I think as his lead trainer, we're starting to see at least a little bit. Now, we're only getting like 0.001% of training. But we're seeing these new wrinkles, these little bit of glimpses into the new wrinkles of the game of Deontay Wilder. I don't know what to expect on July 24th. Fury can come out and do something totally different.
And we don't even know who the other guy is, the other trainer is, because he hasn't announced it yet.
Yeah, and I tried to get out of Deontay, but he kept it close to the vest. But I'm like, okay, D, no problem. The same thing with Tyson Fury. There's certain things that I try to press guys on and stuff like that, and other times no. But you know what, Terrence? I think that for boxing, and I think for fight fans and for sports fans in general, Las Vegas is going to be a special place this summer because we got Wilder Fury number 3, and we got Spence Pacquiao in Las Vegas on August 21st. And I think it is wonderful to see big prize fights return to the fighting capital of the world. But man, Wilder Fury number 3, I mean, I've been so fortunate to call both fights, and they were events. They made the hair on the back of your neck stand up. They make you so energetic to be a fight fan. In the third fight, I truly do believe will eclipse what the first two have done.
Right, man. If Uncle Sam paid me more, I'd have been there. But Spence Pacquiao.
Yeah.
How do you see that fight going?
I think it's going to be unbelievable. I think it's going to be unfreaking believable because it is a legacy fight for both. Manny Pacquiao, at 42 years of age, fighting debatably the best welterweight on the planet, who's in his physical prime. For Errol Spence, he's beaten the likes of Danny Garcia, Sean Porter, Mikey Garcia, but this, without a doubt, is his most high-profile opponent. This is the kind of fight that that's going to take either man. I mean, Manny Pacquiao's legacy is already set. I mean, he's the 8th division world champion. I call him the 8th wonder of the world because that's exactly what he is in terms of what he's been able to accomplish over the course of his career. For Errol Spence, if he gets this win, he catapults himself into the stratosphere to major superstar. If Manny Pacquiao wins, I mean, how can you not talk about this guy potentially being top 5 all time? I mean, he may even already be in that discussion. But a win over Errol Spence on August 21st, I think absolutely puts him in that conversation. At least top 10 all time.
If I'm not mistaken, I think I heard Earl say last night that if Pacquiao, that after this fight, win or lose, Pacquiao's done. He's running for president of the Philippines.
See, that I don't know. I mean, this is the first I'm hearing about that, but I've been telling people this, even dating back to when Manny fought Adrian Broner. We need to appreciate the legends that we have that are still competing in boxing because we'll never see this again, in my estimation. What Manny Pacquiao's been able to do, being an 8 division world champion, we'll never see it again in boxing. I mean, that is being a 4 division world champion is something. 5 division world champion is like, oh my gosh. You start to get into 6 or 7, that's insane territory. 8, oh my, like what? So with
I think a lot of that is timing too.
yeah,
Because you get a guy that's pretty good, and then they become champ and say a lower weight class, and then they look up and they're like, okay, I can beat him, I can beat him, I can beat him. Let's put the weight on her and get those.
yeah,
They look up, they're like, they catch him at the right time, and that's how they get those multiple weight classes, and then they buy their time there, and then they end up going back down. That's what I think that's what Broner did. Because somebody else got there to that weight that had some talent. He realized it was too small there, and he had to come back down.
yeah. I mean, I look at this in terms of what Manny, though, is, let's embrace and enjoy the fact that the legend is still willing to make that walk and test himself against the best in the world. Because this might be, as you pointed out, the last time we see Manny Pacquiao inside that ring. It could be, it could not be. Either way, though, I think that we need to appreciate watching him partake in this fight because there will never, ever be another Manny Pacquiao. He has meant so much to boxing, especially his country in the Philippines, his philanthropic efforts, his exciting style. I mean, he literally is the American dream, what he's been able to accomplish in his Hall of Fame career. And stylistically, fighting Errol Spence, this is a fight that Errol has wanted for a long time. I talked about this with Derek James prior to the fight against Danny Garcia, and we talked about it. I go, assuming Errol wins this fight, what do you think about, fighting Manny Pacquiao? Because before Canelo headlined against Billy Joe Saunders, Errol and Manny were the only 2 fighters to headline more than once at AT&T Stadium down in Arlington, Texas. Now, this fight's going to be in Las Vegas, and I think it's the perfect place for it. But, man, this is going to be an epic fight against 2 of the best welterweights. And to see Manny still competing with these young guys, even if he loses against Errol Spence, just tip the cap. Talk about the OG. He is an OG still competing and fighting at this world-class level.
My personal opinion, he got a knockdown against Keith Thurman.
Yeah.
But Keith Thurman was able to battle his way back to get a split decision. Errol Spence would wipe the mat and the stadium with Keith Thurman, and the parking lot, and then drag him back to Texas. So, no. I just hope you take it easy on Manny.
No,
because Earl's feet are just as fast as Keith's.
Yeah.
And if Keith was able to catch him, so can Earl.
Yeah, look, Errol is undefeated 2012 Olympian, and what he's been able to, go ahead and do, and go toe to toe with Sean Porter and, outbox Mikey Garcia and come back after that horrific car accident and look as good as he did against Danny Garcia. Those were all impressive outings. Errol's record speaks for itself. His dominance speaks for itself. But again, he's fighting Manny Pacquiao, who is unorthodox, who can hit you from a variety of different angles. You can't prepare for Manny. And Errol knows that. And so does Derek James, who I think is one of the best trainers in boxing today behind Eddie Reynoso. So, I think all of those variables produce what I think is going to be a night to remember, less than a month after, or, less than a month, post Wilder Fury number 3. So this is going to be a heck of a summer for boxing.
Anytime you can get Wilder and Spence back to back.
I mean, come on.
Yeah, that's going to be them two brothers right there. Anytime you can get man down and bomb squad, you got if you can get them two on the same card.
Oh, I mean, can you afford that card? Can any network afford that card?
I mean, and look, could you if it's in Vegas, could you afford to be in Vegas? You probably have to pay admission to get into Vegas.
Yes,
they probably had the road blocked off. It'd be a checkpoint.
Yeah,
pay your way into Vegas.
You would need a fight tax, to be able to get in to pay for the fight, because those guys make a lot of money, and you know what? They earn every cent. But that's how special those guys are.
Yeah, man, that'd be a toll. It could be a toll to get in town.
You'd have a fight toll. You know what I mean? Like, you have to, you know what I mean? It's unreal the amount of economic impact that those guys bring on the city. And you know what? I mean, friends of mine have been telling me, I'm sure they've told you as well. They're like, man, rooms are going up like crazy in Vegas for the weekend of July 24th. Oh man, rooms are going up like nuts for the weekend of August 21st, this and that. It's like, that's what those guys bring to the table, and fight fans are so curious and they are hungry to watch these guys live, because it's been well over a year since fans have been able to, make their way into the arenas, and we've missed all of them. It hasn't been the same. And now that we're getting full capacities, it feels good again. It feels right again. It makes me whole as a person.
Where I live at, this is the main drag to get. You ever heard of Ocean City, Maryland?
Yeah, absolutely.
I live on the main drag to get there.
Oh wow!
So a 5-minute drive to the store, 5 minutes, could take 20. After between Memorial Day and Labor Day.
Yeah.
So you're better off walking.
See?
You know what I'm saying? Just to be able to get across the highway, because they extend the time of the traffic lights.
Yeah.
So the cars can get by. All you're trying to do is cross over.
Yep.
So believe me, I know. Like the car shows, I want to go to the car shows, and I'm like, man, I might wreck my car trying to get there. Because all these out of towners, man. So I could imagine Vegas. When I was in Fort Bliss, Texas, about when I was shipping out to go to Afghanistan, when I shipped back in, and I was just BSing around. I got stuck in Texas for like 4 or 5 months. And like some of my battle buddies was going to Vegas, to screw around, because it wasn't that far from El Paso to Vegas. Was it like 200 or 300 miles?
Yeah, something like that.
And they were like, man, like Bailey, you want to go? I'm like, don't go. I'm not going. It's too high. They come back want to borrow money. I'm like, nope, you shouldn't have went.
Oh man, yeah, I'm excited for those 2 weeks in Las Vegas. I think we're going to be treated to some memorable fights that we're going to be talking about for years to come. Yeah,
for both of those fights, man, I haven't thrown a fight party in this house since I bought it. So I'm definitely going to be throwing a fight party, inviting the cousins over, man, get some crabs and some shrimp and a whole lot of beer, and sit here and talk a whole lot of trash.
Hey, man, I love it. You know what I mean? Like that's what makes the sport so great, is that, people that are in the media like you and fans like us, they gather around, and it's something that is, a destination. It's something to do. It's something to be a part of, because the passion from the fans comes out from both sides. And what's great about these fights, and I mean, to me, I think the odds need to be a little bit closer, because I think that both fights can go either way. And I know that Errol is probably the favorite against Manny Pacquiao, but would it surprise me if Manny, goes back to the fountain of youth and pulls out a win over Errol Spence? No, it wouldn't surprise me, because you know what? He's Manny Pacquiao. If Wilder goes out there, knocks out Tyson Fury, doesn't surprise me either, because I'm not counting out Deontay Wilder. If Fury goes out there and wins over Deontay Wilder, well, hey, hats off to him. That's another big win for Tyson Fury. Any scenario does not surprise me in both fights.
that's that brings up a good question. Um, okay, when Wilder had the belt, there was no every time Undisputed came up, there was always an issue about a mandatory or something like that on Joshua's side.
Yeah.
Once Fury got the belt, we didn't hear anything about mandatories and this, that, and the other. They were trying, the goal was the biggest British bout in history and blah 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 blah. Okay,
Yeah.
now Fury's lost the arbitration, and Josh was about to fight Usyk, and so what do you predict will happen if Wilder wins this fight, given AJ's history towards Wilder when it comes to Undisputed?
It would turn the heavyweight division upside down. That's what it would do. It would certainly put those plans and make them go up in smoke for Joshua and Fury. What I think it would do, though, is I think Deontay would probably push for unification. And if Joshua wants to go ahead and unify the division, if he defeats Usyk next, if that's the fight next for Anthony Joshua, and he were to defeat Usyk, then I think, you could open up discussions between Deontay Wilder and Anthony Joshua because, Deontay Wilder is advised by Premier Boxing Champions and Al Heyman. And, Eddie has been talking with Louis DeCubas Jr. to try to make a Canelo and Caleb Plant fight. So that is a matchroom person in Eddie Hearn talking with someone from PBC and Louis DeCubas Jr. So why not, open up discussions? It's not like either side hasn't done business together because Andy Ruiz fought Anthony Joshua, over 2 years ago to become the first Mexican American to capture the heavyweight championship of the world. So business can be done from both entities. And I just think it all depends on if the fighters clamor for it, then I think discussions will begin.
Yeah, that's my thing. Joshua had more excuses than a brother going to jail before. Said he had well, I got this mandatory, I got that mandatory. Well, we offered you this amount of money, but it didn't. It was it was a bunch of BS underneath. And then on top of that, you just said earlier how Wilder loses one fight, they try to throw him in the trash. Oh, he's done. He's this and the other. Joshua lost one fight, and they didn't say that. It's like, oh no, he can get that title back. Ruiz is the bum.
Yeah.
Ruiz is the bum.
Yeah.
And he came back and he got his title back and he was celebrated and this, that, and the other. But my personal opinion, he still fought scared and he's mentally still not the same.
I mean, look, I think that Joshua fought a cautious fight in that second fight with Andy Ruiz, and it served him well because he won his world title back and he looked impressive in the process. And the way I look at it is this way, is the fact that Andy Ruiz is not really a big talker, and neither is AJ. So people were like, all right, let's wait and see to witness what happened. Tyson Fury, on the other hand, is loud, and he's boisterous, and he is bombastic in many instances. So he gets a reaction, either good or bad, from the public. Joshua gets a reaction, but he's more of a sportsman, is the way Anthony Joshua is. Andy Ruiz is that wonderful, underdog story that made it and got knocked off his pedestal, and now he's trying to come back. So when I look at all three guys, Fury's the one who has the big personality. The other two guys don't. And Wilder has a big personality. So that's what makes this all the more compelling. But I do believe if the guys want it, if Joshua wants a unification fight against Deontay Wilder or Tyson Fury after the score has been settled on July 24th, then I think we could get to that point. I think it will be difficult because of what's happened with the arbitration and Eddie Hearn and Anthony Joshua feel disrespected by the fact that Top Rank and Frank Warren, that they, from Queensberry Promotions, that they didn't do enough to try to save that unification fight. But at the end of the day, a contract's a contract. and Deontay Wilder had that third fight penciled in, and that's why the second fight got made. There was Deontay Wilder, if you think about it, did not have to take that second fight against Tyson Fury. He could have said, "Oh, the draw happened. I'm going to move on. Let me go, approach, Anthony Joshua." Instead, he fought his mandatory in Dominic Brazil, starched him in a round, less than a round, and then he made the fight with Tyson Fury. But both sides said, if we're going to do the second fight, we need a third. We need 2 fights. Fine. Everybody agreed. Top Rank, Queensberry, PBC, Wilder, Fury, everyone agreed. That's why when people are like, "Oh my God, how could the arbitration be ruled in Deontay Wilder's favor?" It just took a little while to get through the court system. And also, we dealt with a worldwide pandemic, and the ruling came down. There was no underhanded nonsense, because if there was, Terrence, you'd be hearing it from Fury, you'd be hearing it from Bob Arum, you'd be hearing it from Frank Warren, you'd hear it from John Fury, you'd hear it from everybody. You're not hearing that.
John Fury is saying it's underhanded nonsense.
Well, I'm just saying, the contracts were signed, sealed, and delivered. Tyson is in training camp for Deontay Wilder because he knows he signed on the dotted line for 2 fights. Same thing with Deontay Wilder. Deontay Wilder signed on the dotted line for 2 fights. Let's say Wilder would have knocked out Tyson Fury, and it would have been the opposite, the shoe would have been on the opposite foot. And Wilder wanted to pursue that unification fight against Anthony Joshua. Do you think the public would say, "Oh, good for Deontay Wilder, go for that unification fight"? They'd be like, "Wait a minute, oh my God, give the third fight to Tyson Fury." Exactly. And that's fine. I'm like, look, I don't have as they say, I don't have a horse in the race here. I'm just saying, before the second fight was announced, it was agreed and it was detailed by media members all over the world. 2-fight deal. 2, not 1, 2. Uno, dos. 2 of them. 2 fights. And how are people this surprised? It's like you get a third fight, and here's my deal. Here's the way I combat it, because people are like, "Oh, well, the third fight's going to be not as exciting and whatever." I think the third fight's going to be equally as good, if not probably the best out of all 3. If you don't like it, then don't watch it. Simple as that. But I'm going to bet your ass, Terrence, that if you decide to do something else and you're a fight fan and you went, it's going to be whatever, and then your phone's going to start to blow up when you're at the movies and you're hanging out and you're watching whatever summer blockbuster there is, and you're like, "Damn, I missed that fight, really? I really missed that."
This is the blockbuster.
That's what I'm saying. But you know what I'm getting at? People are trying to be, they're trying to be very contrarian. "I'm not going to watch that, whatever. It's going to be the same with him." Okay, go ahead and do that. But I bet you, that night when your girl says, "Okay, take me out to dinner and a movie," and you go do that because you think you know about the business and about the sport, and you hear about the craziness that went down in Wilder Fury number 3, you'd be like, "Man, I should have watched that. I couldn't have taken her to dinner the night before, or I couldn't have taken her to Sunday brunch." You know what I mean? Like, you want to watch these fights. I'm telling you, this third fight's going to be the best one out of the trilogy.
They're going to watch it, man. They just talking. But I guarantee you, on Sunday morning, they're going to be on YouTube either making videos about the fight they said they wouldn't want to watch, or they're going to be in somebody's chat saying, "Man, there's some bull. Somebody threw a banana peel in there, and Tyson slipped on and bumped his head. He didn't really hit him." Didn't watch.
Look. The one thing is that whoever wins on July 24th, I just want the best man to win. That's all. Let the best man win. We all need to heal as a country. We need to heal as a world and enjoy prize fights. And I think we need to heal also as a boxing community, because we dealt with a lot of stuff over the past year and a half. And let's all put this stuff behind us and let's move forward and let's get to unification, because, the third fight needed to happen because that's what was in the contract. Wilder wanted it. Fury agreed to it. Let's make it happen. AJ probably has a mandatory against Usyk. Let that fight happen. The winner of those 2 fights, meet up at the end of the year, at the end of the year. I can't even talk right now. At the end of the year, early next year, and let's get to unification.
You think Usyk has a chance against Joshua? I think Usyk might be a little too small.
Slightly, but yeah, I think he is too small. And I mean, Joshua is an Adonis and hits like a Mack truck. I think he hits very hard. I mean, look what he did to Vladimir Klitschko. You know, we can go down the list. You know, look what he did to Charles Martin, Dominic Brazil, and Joshua does hit hard, and he's extremely athletic. So if Usyk was a little bit bigger, I would say he has more of a viable chance, but I don't believe that's the case. I think that Joshua is going to go out there and be disciplined in the first couple of rounds, and then he's going to start to hammer away with that right hand, and he's going to start to back up Usyk, and then Usyk's not going to like that, and then Joshua's going to just drive him to the ropes and pound away on him, and I could see Joshua getting an 8th to 9th round stoppage in that fight. I think AJ is very good. I mean, man, what he's been able to do, how relaxed he is in those big situations, the guy rises to the occasion, and he holds 3 belts. So I give him all the credit in the world. But that's my hope. The winner of AJ Usyk, the winner of Wilder Fury number 3, those guys, I think we're in the semifinals. I look at it like the NCAA Final Four. We are in the Final Four right now. So the winner of those 2 fights, get the business done, and let's see unification either at the end of this year or early next year. But either way, though, Terrence, we get 2 damn good fights with Wilder Fury number 3 and AJ and Usyk because I think they're compelling.
Yeah, I think Usyk's going to stay on his bicycle most of the time. But
Yeah.
Any other fights? There's got to be some more compelling fights.
Yeah, we got Teofimo Lopez and George Kambosos. I think that's a fight that's flying under the radar a little bit. I think it's going to be a heck of a fight. I'm excited to see Teofimo back after the win over Vasily Lomachenko. George Kambosos, who's undefeated from Australia, of Greek descent. He's undefeated. Guys coming out focused, determined. I was in the middle of their press conference, a couple of months ago during Triller Fight Week, when we had Jake Paul, Ben Askren right before the weigh-in. That was a heck of a press conference. I had to get in the middle of those 2 guys. I didn't want to. I got in the middle of them. I was moving my head because I didn't want to get punched whatsoever. You're going to hit something, hit me in the back of the head or hit my body because I don't need you to hit my jaw and break my jaw so I can't talk and commentate no more. That would be very, very bad. So I felt the tension between those 2 guys. They don't like each other, and I think it's going to be a really good fight on June 19th on Triller Fight Club pay-per-view.
I guess I got one-track mind on Wilder. I don't know why I didn't think of them. What do you think about Sean Porter saying he thinks the fight between Devin and Devin's last fight was fixed?
Devin Haney's last fight against Jorge Linares was fixed?
Yeah, that's what Sean Porter says.
I mean, I don't know of any fight that is fixed in boxing right now. I mean, I think that was a thing of the past. I hope that that's not a thing of the present or the future, because everyone that I know in the sport, I mean, I'm not saying that it couldn't happen, but I mean, Sean and I are teammates and stuff, but yeah, I don't agree with his sentiment, because I thought that Devin looked really good in the win against Linares. And again, it's expectations. People criticize Haney for not looking as spectacular, but it's like the kid's 22 years of age. He boxed well against Gamboa and was never in any danger, and people called him boring. Then he goes out there against Linares, and Linares came out with strong, tough, durable, pressure fighter, and Devin put himself at risk more than what he should have to entertain the fans. He got buzzed a little bit, got cracked, wobbled momentarily, did not touch the canvas, was fine, and people are saying, oh, he got exposed. Well, wait a minute. I just think it just goes to show that Linares isn't totally done. People are ready to cook people and say, all right, they're ready to write, quote unquote, their obituaries. Their career's over. Linares is done. He's there for the taking. And if Haney doesn't go out and starch him, then Haney isn't as good as we thought. Well, what if Linares still has some left in the tank. And what if Devin Haney brought out the best in him? So what if Linares trained and was so well prepared that he pushed Devin Haney the way that he should, but in the next fight, Linares may not be able to do that against somebody else because he's not Devin Haney. And in my estimation, Haney went out there and he looked really good. And I think it's a learning lesson that he will only benefit from.
Exactly. They failed to mention that Linares is a 3-weight division champ.
Yeah, I mean, look, you don't get those belts by going to H&M or going to Macy's and picking up a belt. You know what I mean? Like, you got to get in that ring and fight somebody. And I don't care who it is. You're fighting world-class fighters. And
I'm fighting Charlie Z.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm so sick of this narrative of, boxing wasn't how it used to be in the old days and this and that. There's still world-class prize fighters that are ranked in the top 10, top 15 of the world. And guys are getting wins. I don't know about you, but try getting into try sparring at your local boxing gym and try sparring for 2 minutes and see how gassed you're going to be. Instead of trying to critique these guys and saying that they're fighting 36 hard minutes under the lights against another fighter who is in world-class conditioning and is a world-class prize fighter, and you get a win over them, but yet it's not good enough. Give me a break.
And then the constant critique of he has no power. Okay, but you critique Wilder and say all he has is power.
Yeah.
But then you critique Devin and say all he can do is box. He has no power. What do you want?
Yeah, damned if you do, damned if you don't. That's exactly what it is. It's like, for fight fans, it's instead of, my mentality in life is I'm a glass half full guy. I'm a very positive person, and I like to watch world-class athletes do what they do best, whether it be the NFL, whether it be the NBA, whether it be world-class prize fighting. These are the best of the best doing what they do. And it's easy, and I say this during commentary as well, Terrence. I'm like, when a guy is doing really, really well and he's dominating the fight, I'll even say, I'm like, okay, I'm going to be a little bit nitpicky here and point out some things that I would like to see the fighter who's doing great do a little bit better. I go, but those are small little subtleties, and I tip the cap to the fighter who's doing that well. Fight fans are brutal. They're like, oh, well, yeah, he won, but. It's like, what do you mean, but? Why is there a but? He won, but. It's like, wait a minute. It's not like when a robbery happens, I understand that. Trust me. I get the outrage, and I'm the first one pounding the pulpit. Out there, these judges. I'm so upset, whatever. But when a guy wins handily and fight fans say, yeah, he won, but. I'm like, no. No more of the buts. Enough of that stuff. Let's just say, man, he won. He looked great. Does he have some things to improve upon? Yeah, he'll get better. Look forward to seeing him the next time. That's the way that they do it in the NFL. They don't say, oh, we got lucky. The other guy missed the field goal, and we didn't deserve to win today. What? Are you kidding me? You think the NFL says, you think the Philadelphia Eagles, when they beat my Chicago Bears a couple years ago because of that, the double doing, you think the Philadelphia Eagles said, we're not going to the second round because we didn't win the right way. No, they're like, hey, the double doing happened. We'll take this win. We're on our way to LA. That's how it went down. Come on now. We need to lower our expectations and just appreciate the world-class talent that we watch every single week.
You just reminded me of when you said, well, he won, but.
Yeah.
Stephen A.
I mean, I'm tired of that narrative, man. It's like he won, but. It's like, what do you mean, but? Why? He won. You think he cheated? No, he won.
Oh man. One more, and I'm gonna let you get out of here. The comment that Tiafimo made about Devin getting buzzed. He said that he said if Linares can buzz him, I can knock him out.
I mean, look, Teofimo he's been wiping out people. He didn't do that to Lomachenko, but he looked really good against Lomachenko. He blew out Richard Comey. I mean, he's been having some highlight reel knockouts. Teofimo Lopez is the best lightweight in the world right now, and I don't even think it's close. And he could say that stuff. There are certain things that I can't say because guess what? I'm not at liberty to say it. Like it would be like me, going ahead and I very rarely do I ever criticize a prize fighter because I don't go through what they go through. I talk about what I see in front of me. I talk about the good, what they did good, what they did bad, but actually critiquing, and it's something that I don't do. But I think with Teofimo Lopez, he looked really good, man. I mean, in his last fight against Lomachenko. And if he believes that Haney got buzzed and, hey, I could do worse, well, at some point, you may have to prove that. But at the end of the day, they're the ones who have to back it up. So who am I to say what you can and can't say?
I think where Devin messed up was that Devin put himself. Well, you get in the ring, you put yourself in harm's way, but Devin opened himself up in order to try to please the fans, and yeah. I think that was a mistake. I think him getting in the pocket with Linares was a mistake in order to try to make the fight more entertaining for the fans who end up not appreciating it anyway.
Yeah.
Down on the other part, Linares, he buzzed Devin. It's like you said, his hands never touched. He never got a knockdown for it. His hands never touched the canvas, but he sat Lomachenko down.
Yeah, something
that Teofimo could not do with all the power he had. He could not sit Lomachenko down, but Devin took a punch that put Lomachenko on his butt.
Yeah.
So I would say Teofimo should slow his roll a little bit because I don't think that Devin would fight the fight that he fought against Linares that he would fight against him. So he wouldn't get that opportunity.
Well, see, I'm glad you brought that point up, Terrence, because that's the whole thing. When fighters come out and they talk after a fighter, in their weight class has fought, and they're like, I would have done this to them. Well, you could because you're that damn good, but stylistically, styles make fights. And that's the whole deal, is that you're not going to fight the same fight against, Teofimo Lopez as you do against somebody like a George Kambosos. You're just not going to do that. You have, especially fighters that are multidimensional, they are going to fight different ways because they want to be able to get the better out of their opponent. And with Errol Spence, when he fought Sean Porter, people thought he was just going to box and stay on the outside. Instead, he decided to stand and bang with Sean Porter. Against Mikey Garcia, people thought Errol was going to come right at him, pound away in the body, and really showcase his physical advantages. Instead, he decided to box against Mikey Garcia. It all depends on what the fighter wants to do, and every fight is so different. That's why I love when fighters get out there and talk and say what's on their mind. God bless them, because they are doing what 0.0000001% of the population in this world can do. So they are entitled to their opinion. Me, I just kind of sit back. I'm like, hey, that's great. Let's see it happen in that ring. Because, as I said, when that bell rings, you're going to have to back up what you're saying.
That's why I call Spence. I call him Earl. You think you know me, Spence?
And that's the thing. That's what I love about this Pacquiao fight. Is, who knows? Errol might come out and start boxing on his toes, just to say he could do it. You just never know. But that's what makes prize fighting so fun and unique and unpredictable. That's why you can't go back. And I've done it because, I have a life outside of, boxing. If I have a free Saturday, I want to go out with the fellas and hang out in my city here in Chicago. And am I watching boxing? Probably not. 9 times out of 10, I'm not. I'll go back and watch it on DVR. But prize fighting is one of those things that you have to watch it live because you're going to miss a lot. And you're going to be so taken aback from the different things that happen over the course of a championship fight.
I could see now. My wife would tell you, I'm going to eventually go to. I got to catch a Wilder fight before he retires. And I got to catch a Spence fight before they're out of the game. But my wife would tell you, if I go to a live fight, I'm probably going to miss a lot of the fight. And I tell you why, because I'm going to hear something over here, and I'm going to hear something over here. And what I'm saying? I mean, I can't get that out of me. So I hear something behind me, I'm going to. But at the same time, I don't want to be up in the nosebleed seats. But if I hear something behind me, I'm going to turn around and look. So.
That's why I tell people don't blink. Like when it comes to watching fights, I'm focused here and I'll listen to this, but I'll quickly, but I want to watch. I don't want to miss anything because, man, with those guys fight that you're talking about with Spence and Wilder, you might miss something special.
Yes, yeah, and I'm going to leave mad because somebody's going to do something behind me, and my head is constantly on a swivel. You know what I mean?
Yep.
But we're gonna go ahead and get out of here. Before we go, I want to remind everybody that we are still the donation drive is still going for the Frederick Douglass mural that's being put up in the oldest African American community in the United States. So go to Operation Frederick Douglass on the Hill on Facebook and make your donation. And we still have the benefit barbecue that's going on the 18th, the day before Juneteenth. Pit beef and pit pork and a soda for $10. The proceeds go to benefit the mural. But if you're not able to come out and come to the barbecue, you can just donate the $10 to the mural project, which you can donate through Facebook, Operation Frederick Douglass on the Hill, on Facebook. And on that note, we are out of here. Anything you want to say, Mike? Ray, before we go?
No, just follow me on social media at SBR Flores. Again, at SBR Flores. June 19th, or this weekend, you got Mayweather, Logan Paul. And then June 19th, George Kambosos and Teofimo Lopez. July 24th, Wilder Fury #3. August 21, Spence and Pacquiao. Let's get it going. Oh, also June 26th, Gervonta Davis, Mario Barrios. Going to be a heck of a summer here in boxing.
Oh man, we didn't even touch on those. Mayweather and Jake Paul.
Yeah, Logan Paul. Yeah.
Hey, Logan Paul. What do you think about that? What do you think about this social media thing getting into boxing?
I don't mind it because it brings more eyeballs to the sport, and people are very interested and enthusiastic about it. And as long as we have good undercards to showcase some quality talent, I'm all about it. And this weekend, you got Badu Jack. He was supposed to fight Jean Pascal, but Pascal tested for a variety of PEDs and banned substances. And then you have a really good fight with Jared Hurd and Luis Arias. Chad Ochocinco making his debut, his pro boxing debut. So, you have a variety of different options for you. But what I will say, when Floyd Mayweather gets in the ring, he brings entertainment. He's one of the best ever to do it. And, at 44 years of age, even if he's fighting a YouTube guy, I'm going to be watching, and I'll be down in Miami calling the fight for the international audience. And you know what? I'm very curious to see what Floyd does against Logan Paul.
Well, I know Floyd's pretty mad over that hat thing. So
Logan's going to have to stand up for his little brother because Floyd is not happy about what happened a few months ago.
Wow. What about the Tank Davis fight? And I know Floyd was telling him you can't fight Barrios flat-footed. You have to be on your toes to fight him. Yeah. You think Tank can do that for the duration of the fight?
I think he can, but the question is, will he? Because Barrios is a young, hungry guy, world champion, undefeated. Cannot count out Mario Barrios. Trains under Virgil Hunter out there in the Bay Area. So I think Mario Barrios is going to come ready to go, and Mario hasn't really been saying much. And there's a big size disparity that Mario has to his advantage over Tank. He's got to use it because if Tank gets on the inside, ask Leo Santa Cruz, good night. That's all she wrote. And Barrios doesn't want to be another highlight reel to Gervonta Davis.
No. It looks like it hurts.
No, without a doubt. I mean, talk about, yeah, he punches. He's probably one of the hardest hitters in boxing today, probably behind Deontay Wilder.
Yeah. All right, everybody. We'll catch you on the next go around. Later.
Thanks.